Okay. So hopefully we don't have any issues with it today. I will be showing a lot from the notebook, so we may get some of that repeated attempts to white balance. Well, let's summarize what we've done already just to warm up. The stain. Oh, I should probably pull the mic over closer. Hey. Okay, so there we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, stain shading was the first thing we did. No, was the second thing we did. Okay, I'm getting my things out of order. And I actually do like how well a lot of this turned out. I haven't given it a polyurethane coat to see if it might change the staining, but I don't imagine a clear poly would do too much to it. Now, things I would definitely change is I don't mind down here at the water's edge areas having a sharp line to delineate the differences between the two of them, but I'm not a big fan of these sharp lines, and these are the ones I did with the bamboo skewer. I blended in these areas, and then I went in and drew an edge on with a bamboo skewer. Whereas these, I did a Q-tip and then blended down, and so I kind of like these better. So I would try to favor more of that in the future with these. Like I said, I don't mind the water's edge. This isn't super bad up here. Most of the hilly areas are okay. I do want to get a little bit more of this, like the foggy banks on the hillsides, to be there. So I'm going to try to be more careful about not mushing and blending too much down in these areas. And a little texture to the sky works out all right, and there's a little bit of texture to the water area. And those sort of work out all right. So mostly I'm satisfied with it. Like I said, the sharp lines, the too sharp a line there, not a big fan of it. But as a first attempt go, that wasn't super bad. Then we did this. We did this first. And honestly, as a first attempt, I'll give myself credit for it. Things I would not do again are these giant circles. I think they're so disproportionately oversized in comparison to everything else. It sort of throws me off. So from here to about here, I would do smaller sizes on those. I don't mind terribly much from here out. It kind of works. Maybe even just from here out. I could see maybe doing a row like this, stopping here, and then decreasing again, going out here, and then increasing and decreasing again. And that would work fine for doing this a little bit differently. But mostly this was practice to get a sense for, can I do straight lines into like a diamond shape or a triangle? Yes. Can I do rounds like on a circle or a teardrop? Yes. If I can do a straight line, I can pretty much do a square. And so if I can do lines, triangles and teardrops, squares, rectangles, circles, I've got all the shapes I need to be able to make most any form. You can do hexagons relatively easily. Pentagons might be a little tricky, but once you get past a four-pointed shape, even past a three-pointed shape, symmetry becomes easier. And it's just a matter of radial patterning. So I think that was a good warm-up practice for that. I'm kind of digging that. I have to admit, it seemed like work when I started out on it, but I have had an absolute boatload of fun with the pixel art today. The patterns I used to make. So I will kind of look at the first round. So the demo day that I did the first day was all right. It's experimentation with that and some design ideas. So here we go with the first of the logos for each of the categories that I do. So I did these. So it's reading, books and movies. Yeah, don't freak out. So those were kind of cool, and I dug doing that, and they fell together pretty easily, honestly. And once I got into the pattern of doing it, I really got into doing it. So here's the next three actually on a page, but so we've got chess pawn, a heart with a heartbeat on it, and a plate with a fork and a knife. And I have to admit, that heart with a heartbeat pattern on it, that took a little fiddling with to get it to look right, but I am impressed that that turned out as well as it did. Like, you can tell that's a heartbeat monitor on there, and I'm like, and that's just a series of dots, and I'm like, that was I was impressed with that. But the next one, oddly enough, was the one I had the most trouble with. And you wouldn't think it would be. So the problem with it was, this is the one that looks the best to me. It's also entirely too big. It won't fit in the logo designs that I'm using. This one fits, but I don't like this spread in the middle here. This one looks decent, but they cluster too far together, so they look kind of like that one does. And so I was just sort of like, I couldn't get one that made it work as good as I had hoped. And I struggled with that for a while, and I just settled on, we'll play with those three and worry about it a little bit later. And then after that little bit of a setback, I was a little reluctant to get started with the next one. But I'm like, okay, so how are we going to do the shopping cart and art and music as a category? I was looking at art and music, and I was like thinking, if I did a painter's palette with musical notes, that would probably work. And if I use the film one, the film can from movies as a basis for making the artist palette, I'd be in a good spot. I'm like, I think that would probably work fairly decently. So I brainstormed it a little bit, and then I went into the shopping category as the other one that I needed to figure out. And I went a little back and forth about, like, I could do a dollar sign. The products and services category could be done with a dollar sign, but I'm like, no, that's not the goal here. I don't want that category to be seen as shopping or money or investments or financial category. It's decidedly products and services. And products and services are what money is spent on. But it's more in my mind, like, if I go buy a service online or if I buy a product online, you click buy and then it goes into your shopping cart. And so to me, that seemed to be the best option, is to do a logo of a shopping cart. And then I tinkered around a little bit with the art and music category, tested it out, erased some lines, moved a little bit here, changed a few shapes. And so what we got is these guys. So the shopping cart actually happened really quickly. The art and music happened somewhat quickly, considering, but I really love how well that turned out. And so I got each of the 8 categories illustrated there. And so I'm like, okay, so if I take those and based off of what I was playing with the other day, if I use each of those 8 as a pixel in itself for making 8 pixel letters of I and C for the channel logo, then I'm pretty sure I can get it to look decent as the 2 letters, each with 8 pixelated designs. So I can't rip those pages out, cut out along the dotted line or the graph lines, and then paste them up on a wall or anything like that. So I'm like, well, I made them to be pixel art. So I went into my computer and I pulled out the MS Paint, and I just took. I opened up a new thing. I drew a dot. I just hit a dot with a pencil, and then I zoomed in as far as I could on that dot to get the individual square pixel. And then I started playing with that and transformed those into pixel art with MS Paint. And then did some coloring on some of them. I did some border shapes and arranged them into the I and the C, and did some new borders on them for the circle patterns, and looked at maybe arranging each of the icons in a certain way around the central logo, and then more on the other side. And I think I've got most of that worked out. I still want to do like I've done the logos in a circle, and I want to do a second circle so it looks like they've got a bezeled ring around them. And I want to do essentially a larger version of that around the IC in the middle. And what I want to do for the ring around the IC in the middle is make it wide enough that I can write the letters inspired and content in it. But getting those letters to hit at the right angle and be uniformly spelling it out, that's a little bit trickier. I know I can do a piece of scrap paper and draw radiating pattern on it and do it so that there's like 3 on this side, 3 on this side, the number of letters for inspired, the number of letters for content, and adjust those 3 so that they're balanced. Like there's a balanced number and a sort of symmetry to it. And then, draw those lines, and once you've drawn the triangles that form the angles, the wedges of that radiating pattern, you draw 2 circles around it for your top boundary and your bottom boundary. And then based off of those locations, you have to draw a square within a wedge-shaped. Yeah, it's really complicated, but to do the square so that you can do a nice square letter, not a deformed letter, not a top spread, bottom scrunched letter, but a fully square letter. Do it for each of the letters on the pattern, and I think I can do that. Based off of the pixel size that we're working with, I have some question as to whether or not I can do that as pixel art. But I'm kind of curious to see. Like I'm thinking that if I I look at the resolution of banners and stuff and see how my stuff posts on those. Because right now, anything that's a pixel in size is small enough that I almost feel like all of my 8 logos within their circles would be a scrunched little thing in the center of the whole banner at the top. And I think the picture resolution that they offer for channel logos, banner art, and whatnot is good enough that I can increase the size of the individual little logos, keep the IC roughly the same size, do the ring around it, and still be able to get pixelated inspired content around it. But I'm going to do some test flying of some of that. And you're still with me, I hope. So we haven't lost a signal tonight. That's probably a good sign. We're about to point the camera at the screen, so it may freak out. So let's just... Okay, so it's not freaking out yet. Okay, so... Okay, I think we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Doing okay. Don't freak out. Okay. So this is what I've been working on today. So pull that out of the way.